Are England ready for Euro 2024? In this video, we're going to break down what we learned from the Iceland loss at Wembley. And at the end of the video, a prediction of where I think England are going to lie, because I now think things have changed drastically for Gareth Southgate and England. Let's be completely real. England have not lost a game going into a major tournament, a kind of pre-tournament friendly, since 1968. This is a country that are ranked below Cape Verde in the FIFA international rankings. An Iceland side that are fighting for nothing. Yes, it's a big day out for them at Wembley. And of all the sides to lose to, in terms of the narrative, I really believe history and patterns matter in football. And we're talking 8 years ago at another Euros tournament where players with incredible experience weren't able to break down an Iceland side, even from being 1-0 up. It's one of the worst results in the history of English football. 2-1 Iceland, 2016 in Nice. I was there, unfortunately. Joe Hart had a stinker. It was one of the worst performances of an England side ever. And there's this bitter irony that going into the tournament that we have to win based on the trajectory of where our players are, with the amount of players that are succeeding at the highest level. We've got Bayern Munich's highest scorer. You've got Bellingham winning the Champions League, Foden winning trebles, Stones, etc. That we have to win this tournament. We have to. Whether you sit there at home and think England don't have the ability to win the tournament, that's fair enough. But the amount of failure at England, the amount of failure I think Gareth Southgate has been culpable for. And then we go into this Iceland game of all games where Gareth Southgate kind of took over from Roy Hodgson and kind of had this spell. Obviously, I know Sam Allardyce as well in and around there, but basically took over from the failings of 2016. The following tournament, 2018, England were optimistic. England were buoyed from new players coming in, young, energetic players like Dele Alli, Jesse Lingard, Harry Kane's kind of first World Cup, and it was exciting. And since then, I look at Gareth Southgate against Iceland at Wembley, and he reminded me of Wally with the brolly. He reminded me of Steve McLaren. He reminded me of Capello. I think he's completely flat. I think he's completely devoid of ideas. And this England side have not been this underprepared for a major tournament in many, many years. Got major injury concerns to John Stones. Why is he playing this final game if you're worried about him? We've seen Southgate be a little bit cheeky, gamble a little bit with Harry Maguire in 2021, for example, who had an injury going into that tournament as well, and he barely played him, and he realised that Maguire would have had the ability to just rock up to a game and play tournament football, and he's kind of getting John Stones running around Wembley when he's barely played minutes for Man City, and he's very, very brittle and fragile. You have to be smarter than that, surely. You have to be smarter than that and give minutes to other centre-backs like Konsa. I know he played in the Bosnia game and Gahey and stuff like that, but Stones for me is a major, major misstep. Mark Gahey looks shocking. He looks so poor. There's a moment where Iceland in the second half were absolutely running away with it, and he's 50 yards off the play, 40 yards off the play. He's miles off of it. And you just think, well, maybe not 50. It's like 20, 30 yards off the play. And I like Mark Gahey, but I worry about him defensively, especially if he's the sort of lead defender with the most experience alongside Lewis Dunk if John Stones gets injured. We have to talk about the Iceland goal. It is so classic Gareth Southgate. And this is what's concerning. Because if I'm being pessimistic for the sake of it, then you have to let me know in the comments. But it's the same mistake over and over again. That little ball around the corner of the midfield, kind of navigating through England's defence and midfield at the same time, kind of bypassing what England are trying to do defensively. That space that isn't being coached properly into the players. We saw that against Croatia in 2018. We've seen it against France in 2022 in Qatar. We've seen it so many times. Gareth Southgate with a back four really struggles to compress space in the middle of the park, and sides are able to play through us. Still, this is Iceland, man. This is Iceland. It's the worst vote of confidence you could ever have going into a Euros tournament, and they're just bypassing our midfield by a guy I've never heard of. With all due respect, Iceland deserved 4 last night, not 1. So I'm not sitting there slagging off Iceland for the sake of it. They are absolutely fantastic, but they're ranked 73rd in the world, and they're playing through England that had a very, very strong starting lineup. Let's talk about Harry Kane. He doesn't look fit at all. He looks miles off of it. Why is he playing in this game? Why is Ivan Toney only coming off the bench? You brought that extra striker. Now it is pretty obvious. I think Harry Kane's got clear concerns. I think it's with his back. So that's another issue. So why is Harry Kane starting this game? He looked miles off of it in terms of fitness and speed. He's lost an extra yard. And I thought he was slow in 2022, but he's even slower now. It's like the lack of pace in this England 11, starting 11 is embarrassing. Anthony Gordon, in the one moment where Harry Kane was effective, it was early in the first half. Harry Kane spins the centre-back and plays this lovely ball into Gordon. He fires it into row Z. The ball's still travelling along the Jubilee line now, out of Wembley Park Station. It's absolutely embarrassing. You don't want to be shitting on players straight away. Should Gordon have been in the squad? Yes, he's had a fantastic season. But early predictions are that he's so raw to be playing at a tournament like this. And I think we'll live to regret Jack Grealish not going. Then there's this kind of weird stick or twist with Declan Rice. Positionally, I thought he was found out, especially in that Iceland goal as well. He's obviously being asked to bomb forward. He did it multiple times in the game with Kobbie Mainoo to sit. Obviously, Gareth Southgate's looking at that. So we've learned that Declan Rice can't bomb forward with Kobbie Mainoo. So we've learned that. Kobbie Mainoo, for me, had a relatively poor game. Lots of space in behind him. He looked miles off the pace as well. Good on the ball, don't get me wrong. So we've not learned enough about Adam Wharton if he's the guy. We're a week closer with players that are pulling up and looking really stiff and not looking energetic and looking flat, low on confidence. And then the two lads that I always have to talk about for obvious reasons. The first one is Cole Palmer as a right winger. He's obviously seeing if he can mess around with the kind of Saka-Palmer situation. Can he get Palmer in there and rotate him throughout the group stages and rest Saka and keep Saka fresh for the round of 16? That's what I think he's doing. And Palmer just looked, he created some chances. I definitely am never going to criticize Cole Palmer for his technical ability, but positionally just looks so isolated out there. And he hasn't really been playing there for Chelsea. I think he started there a little bit, obviously played there for Man City. But we're talking about one of the highest scorers in the Premier League last season. We're talking about a guy that single-handedly took Chelsea Football Club into Europe off the back of being in the bottom half of the Premier League season for most of it. These are the facts. And you're shoving him out wide. You're spread betting. It's like going on to roulette and just putting all your money red and black. You're just spread betting. There's no point. You're wasting your money. You might as well have gambled and put actual wingers on the wing, see what that works with Harry Kane, and then have one out and out number 10 like Phil Foden. And Phil Foden, it looked poor, didn't it? It looked poor. I don't think he's ever really shone in an England shirt. It's frustrating because I can sit here and tell you so much about what he's capable of doing, so much of what he is, what he's got in the locker. I could do a 4-hour podcast about what I've seen about Phil Foden's technical ability, what he can provide a football side. But there's just something not clicking with Phil Foden. I can't advocate for him playing in number 10 with this manager. And maybe that's a cop-out, but I don't think Gareth Southgate is getting the most out of this England side. Trent coming on was a positive. It almost alludes to the fact that maybe we just need to throw balls to the wall and just attack these sides and try and win that way and outscore sides. It's not easy. I can't think of any real side that have won tournaments being an out-and-out attacking side. I really can. Spain, back-to-back, 3 trophies in a row, being very, very conservative, controlling the ball, but not scoring 3, 4s or 5s. Quite boring, some would say. Portugal with Adair, they were boring, no question about it. They were grinding out results in extra time. Greece, 2004, boring. The Dutch, when they won their Euros, boring. So not boring, but very, very negatively focused and trying to grind out results. So this England side are not capable of grinding out results. We know that for a fact. John Stones is not going to be able to play 3 group stage games. So you've got no centre-backs that are world-class. You've got Trippier at left-back, who I like him a lot, Trippier, but he's had a really poor season. He's inverted, so he has to always come into midfield. He's narrowing the pitch. Wembley's a huge pitch, and we look so narrow against Iceland. Gordon's going to want the ball first time from a left-back around on his left foot first time, and you got Kieran Trippier who's going to have to cut in all the time and kind of play it on the inside. It's going to slow the England side down massively, and that is if you think that Gordon has to be starting these games. I don't think he performed well enough to be starting against Serbia. So there's so many questions now for Gareth Southgate that I don't think he's answered. We're not further along the line of knowing who the midfield starter is. Is it Mainoo? Is it just because he plays for Man United? Because he's not a better player than Adam Wharton on current form. I'm sorry, he's not. Different players, but Wharton's a far better player at controlling a game of football. I think we'd have looked a lot better against Iceland with Adam Wharton in midfield. Declan Rice, Bellingham, Foden, Palmer, Saka, and then Harry Kane, who has to start every game, according to every England fan ever. There's never been a revisionist approach about that. And it's like, the guy can barely run. He's carrying an injury. The way it's looking, I think round of 16 quarterfinals is a poor achievement, but the realistic achievement of this England side. We do not have the manager to get us over the line. Maybe I'm being over pessimistic as kind of reverse psychology. I want England to win. There's a world where the right manager finds the answer, a bit like a Rubik's Cube, unlocks this England side and could win the tournament, could win 2026 America, could win 2028 Euros with this generation of players that are winning at the highest level for club. But for country, it's poor. I think we're really, really struggling going into Euro 2024.